Hi, JKC here, and it's April 20th, 2012, and I wanted to talk about religion and astral projection a little bit more. Ever since my last video, and a couple friends have seen it, and we've been kicking around the subject for a while, and what I've discovered is, and this is, I'm not new to Christianity, however, I did wander away from it for a time, but when I got back into it, one of the things I was told was that anything that's paranormal, meditation, well, having to do with paranormal, but anything that's what they call the mystic arts or what have you, or mystery religions, they don't want you to talk about. They discourage astrology, the use of the tarot, which I've read tarot for years. I don't do it as much anymore, but I don't really do astrology, mainly because you just couldn't remember what all the little signs and symbols meant. It was a lot of heavy reading. Same thing with the chakras and all that. I can't do that. I'm able to astral project naturally since I was a kid. It happened to me spontaneously, and I've only been trying to really control it for this last year and a half or so. But anyway, in the meantime, trying to control it, there's always been, there's fears that I'm having, which is, I think, holding me back from really going out and seeing how far that this can really go. I've walked out of my body. I've gone places. Some of them I remember, some of them I don't. I've walked around my house. I've walked around the block. I've gone to all kind of different, places. And I think that if this is discouraged, I have to wonder why. So go back to the, reading and research. And there's many strange things that have happened to me over the years. And I could recount them all here, but again, it'd be for a very long video. But in order to put a frame of reference what I'm about to talk about, there is, about a couple weeks ago on the 8th, April 8th, I fell asleep on the couch and basically woke up like 2 seconds later. I nodded off, woke up, looked over at the clock. I saw that it had, about 10 minutes had passed since, I had laid down. And I realized that I was seeing the clock from two different perspectives. I was seeing the clock on the wall from my eyes laying down the couch and from me in a sitting up position. And when I realized that I was seeing it of two sets of eyes, I'm thinking, oh wow, I'm astral projecting and I'm sitting up. I just woke up and found myself this way. Maybe one or two things. Number one, how many times have I got up and walked out as soon as I went to sleep and just did not remember it? And the second thing was, okay, how am I going to stop this dizzying double vision that I'm seeing? And it's from two different perspectives, from like 2 feet apart. So when I thought about that, all of a sudden my vision resolved into one, and that's when the room became perfectly clear. I saw the room around me, every object in it. I could read text on the spines of books. On the other side of the room, stuff that I can't see without my glasses, and even then, this was much, much clearer than if I'd been, even when I'm wearing my glasses. It was that clear. I mean, crystal. I mean, you can see a hair laying on the windowsill from across the other side of the room. That's how sharp my vision was. And I happened to look down at that point, and I looked down at my legs, and I saw my astral limbs lift up out of my real legs and turn around and sit on the ground beside me on the couch. I had turned, my physical body turned, and I was now facing forward. And while my body, was laying long ways on the couch. And what tripped me out about this was I had never before seen my astral body. I had, for some reason, if I astral project, and I remember it, if I run into a mirror or something, I avoid looking into mirrors. I don't know why. I've always had a phobia of mirrors, and apparently this phobia carries over to when I'm astral projecting it. I'm just afraid I'm going to see something behind me or something in it. So I avoid mirrors when I'm astral projecting, but next time I think I'll try to, if I can get that far, I think I will force myself to look at a mirror just to get an idea of what I see there. But what I saw was my limbs were really thin and narrow. They were graceful and long, but they were super thin. I mean, my legs were maybe this big around. They were really thin. And they were a bright, glowing red color. And it's kind of hard to describe. The only thing I can liken it to is burning coals or embers in a fire. And that color, that glowing red, shaped, orangey red color, shaped into the shapes of human legs and feet. That's what I saw. And just as I was marveling over this and the clarity of the room, one of my family members comes walking in, slams the door, bang, I'm awake. And of course I was angry because there I was about ready to get up and take a walk, and all of a sudden somebody come in and disturbed me, so I wasn't happy about that. But I was happy about the fact that I did see my astral body this time. So I wrote all this down, and I began looking on the internet for different references for us to, colors of astral projection. If you've seen your astral body, what color does it tend to be? And does the color mean anything, or is there any similarities or common denominators? That's what I was looking for. Look online. The only thing I could really find was that most people that experience this usually see their bodies either glowing white, glowing blue, a thin filmy blue color. One guy described it as like a shadowy black. Somebody else described it as a glowing green color. But the majority of the ones I saw was kind of like a very pale blue. I mean, real pretty blue color. But mine, nobody talked about red. And I searched, I searched, and I found the red color in the strangest place. I found it in the book of Ezekiel. And again, I'm rereading the passage right now. I've read book of Ezekiel before, but it just didn't absorb a lot of it. But this time I'm rereading it with the intention of trying to understand, excuse me, if Ezekiel had if he had undergone, if he would being quote unquote caught up in the spirit, the way he describes what happened to him in the book of Ezekiel, starting at I believe chapter 8, verse 4 or 5, it kind of starts there where he's talking about it, and I would reread it here, but it would take forever. But what was interesting about it was how he described being lifted up by a lock of his hair, pulled out of his body, and then carried off by this spirit guide or angel that carried him to, show him the things that he saw. But in describing this, he described seeing legs that were a burning red color, and the upper torso of the body was like an amber color. And that's exactly what I saw when I looked down at my own astral body, and I was so shocked that I dropped the book. I mean, that's just how amazing that was. And I've visited a lot of forums in regard to the subject, and I've never heard anybody describe it that way. I mean, I'm sure they're out there, but I haven't run into anybody. But it just shocked me that what I saw lines up with what Ezekiel apparently saw. And so I flipped through the Bible, and I'm reading up all these different references, and I found an interesting video by a gentleman that was referring to the different Bible verses that do mention being caught up in the spirit, and described experiences that are very much like astral projection. And a lot of these are found in Ezekiel. Some of them are found in Revelations. Chapter 4, St. John the Divine talks about being caught up in the spirit, and he leaves his body, and then he's led around to see different things. And he's told, as I've been told in dreams and visions, that you have to remember everything you see here. He was told the same exact thing. Everything you see here, remember it word for word. And I've had 3 visions like that in my entire life, where it was so epic that I had to remember everything, and I remember it crystal clear as if it happened yesterday. That's how powerful these visions can be. Well, St. John the Divine talks about that. Ezekiel does. You can also find, I think in parts of Genesis talks about it. 1 Thessalonians 5, verse 22, 2 Corinthians 5, basically verse 1 to 5 and through 8 and all this. You can find them. I would, if you want to start somewhere, read Ezekiel and then Thessalonians, 2 Corinthians, around chapter 5. That's where I would start, and then go on to the Book of Enoch. Now, Book of Enoch is apocryphal, for it's been excluded from the Bible. So just regular Christians are not going to consider the Book of Enoch as being a biblical text. Although the Catholics and Anglican community, which I'm an Anglican faith, if I get that out straight, I'm of the Anglican faith, so we do read the Book of Enoch from time to time, as well as the other Apocrypha. So we do consider it, and Book of Enoch is just fascinating to me. I'm actually reading it right now, word for word, trying to get through it. It's a wade, but I'm getting through it. But anyway, to make a long story short, is there are references in the Bible, throughout the Bible. Anywhere you read someone has been shown a vision or has been taken up, you'll hear the buzzwords are taken up or caught up in the spirit or being lifted up as on a cloud. In fact, I believe Ezekiel describes flying. If you read it and then look at it with the intention of, okay, I'm going to read this book, and I'm going to try to find all the signals of astral projection experience, and they're all there. I mean, I found a lot of them. I mean, it just describes it. Revelations is probably the most powerful. Ezekiel would be the second. Revelations is real hard for me to wade through. A lot of symbolism there. But when you're in astral projection, you have to also remember, too, that this is 2,000 years ago. If these people are being shown something that they can't possibly describe, like helicopters or planes or stuff exploding or whatever, they're going to try to describe it in the closest terms that they possibly can. And I think that's what's happened with the Revelations when he was basically taken out in astral projection and shown all these things. Why, if this is a way that the ancients talked to God, why is it being discouraged now? Why are Christians and other religious groups being told, well, you should not do this, it's evil, it's sinful? Why is it being suppressed? If this is the way that the ancients in the Bible talked to God directly, that this is how they accessed the Supreme Being that created our universe, this way they talk to Him, why are they discouraging that? I'm just the kind of person that I like to ask questions like that, because it makes people think, okay, if this is possible, and in my personal experience it is possible. I know for a fact in my mind of what happened to me, but if you're an atheist or something like that, you may not necessarily believe that. You would have to experience it in order for yourself to even believe this is real. I can't sit here and say, yeah, it's real, it happened to me, and have you believe me. But I know what's happened to me, as do other people. But if you try it enough times, sooner or later it will happen to you. And I believe that this was one of the ways that the ancients communed with God. This is how they talked to God. And if so, why is this being suppressed? Why is it not being taught in churches? Why is it discouraged? Why is it being written off as witchcraft or sorcery? That's the question I've been kicking around. I will come back to this subject again from time to time. I personally do not feel that this is something that's evil. I believe that this is what happened to the prophets and to the other people in the Bible who claim to have had an experience where they actually spoke to God. I believe that this is the way they did it. So if you want to call it evil, then you would have to call about half the people in the Bible evil, because this is how they talk to God. You can't just dismiss that. So anyway, I'm going to draw this to a close right now. I was just throwing some things out there to think about. If this is hidden knowledge, why don't they want us to know this? Why would they try to prevent us from talking to God if this is the way it's been done the whole time? Maybe that's the reason why we haven't talked to God much in the last, several hundred years. Maybe it's because people have forgotten how to do this. It's been suppressed. It's been shut down. Don't think about that. Don't go there. Well, you have to ask yourself why. Anyway, that's all I got to say on it for right now. I've got some more things I'll post videos on, but I did want to throw these few thoughts in on this. Anyway, thank you very much. Talk to you next time. Bye-bye.